Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Own Your Own Freedom. I am what you would call a narcissistic abuse survivor, as I think that all of you are, and I choose every day for the rest of my life after escaping narcissistic abuse to own my past, seize my present, and heal for my future. This video is for you or for anyone who had a narcissistic parent, like I did. I had a narcissistic father, based on my observation and my research and my experience, of course. What I saw and what I struggled with, one of the biggest things that I struggled with as a child growing up, is that my dad argued not to resolve anything or to make anyone, to come to a consensus or an agreement. He argued for the sake of dominance. I would say in every area, from small to big, minute to earth-shattering, for lack of a better term. He literally argued for the sake of arguing or for the sake of dominance. So it was, you never won. That's sort of something that with a narcissist you have to come to terms with, is that you don't argue with them, because they're not open to apologizing even when they know they're wrong. They're not open to apologizing, to taking responsibility for wrongdoing. They have the emotional capability of a child, and so they're not going to relent and give up their false sense of self and false sense of entitlement to who you are, what you are, and everything you're capable of giving them. So for an example, I learned, so I'm in Strasbourg now. I live here, Strasbourg, France. But when I was younger, I took some French courses, and there was one class I was in a beginning course, and my dad, he had taken French in college, I guess, and he would always, I realized that now he was pretending he knew French, but he would always boast about how much French he knew, and he would use these phrases. And now I look back, I'm like, they were really, number one, he was always wrong. He never had it right, but I didn't know. But then there was one time I did know. We were actually at one of his friend's house, and he mentioned me taking French classes, and he was talking about how I don't know very much, and I'm just learning, because he has to, narcissists are always about dominance and humiliation. So he said something in French, and then I corrected him with little I knew at the time. I corrected him because he was wrong. I mean, he was just wrong. But I did it sweetly. I did it lovingly. I was like, that's actually not correct. It's actually this. And we were joking back and forth, and it seemed like he was getting a little irritated. But then eventually he snapped at me. He was like, "Young lady," or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was furious with me in front of all of his friends. He's like, "Young lady, you do not correct me." And I shut down for the rest of the time that we were there. And then later on in the day, when we went back home, and he actually spoke to my mom and told my mom to tell me not to correct him anymore, and I need to be humble. I don't need to boast about my my French ability. And after that, he never spoke French to me ever again. He never, because I exposed him as a fraud. What narcissists don't understand, and what toxic people don't understand, is that they always overplay their cards. They don't just say, "Oh, I know a little bit of French." They always say that they're like an expert, they're fluent. They don't just say that they're, a salesperson. They say they are the best salespersons. They've won awards. They don't just say they're a good basketball player. They say, "Oh, I played in college, and I was on scholarship, and I could have gone to the pros." It's like they can't just say that they're good at something. They have to go above and beyond, because to them, it's accurate to them, and it's almost laughably hilarious and embarrassing for the people who know them, around them, because they're like, "What are they talking about?" But to them, it's absolutely serious. And that's what makes it sort of funny, coming out of a narcissistic relationship, is because we realize they're liars. We want to expose them, but then in the end, it's not even worth it, bro. It's really not. But anyway, there are many examples of that. But just But what we need to come to terms with is that they are not arguing for the sake of conclusion, understanding other people, because that's, I mean, I would say for us who are, more empathic people, we argue to understand, or not even really argue. We just speak, and if we get into a debate with someone, it's to understand where they're coming from. It's not to be right. It's not necessarily to be right, and it's definitely not to show dominance. It's just to understand who this person is, where they're coming from. And I'm totally okay with being wrong or hearing something that's different than what I've learned, different than my perspective. But a narcissist is not open to that. They argue for the sake of dominance. That's why they shut down conversations. That's why they always have to be the smartest person in the room, the best person in the room, even when they're not. They lie about their qualities and all of that. And when you're out of these toxic relationships, you realize all of this was like, all that they do in their life, they live to make themselves feel good. That's like the goal of their entire life. Imagine that. Waking up in the morning and having to prove to yourself and to everyone around you, not proving it, but forcing this false self onto everyone around you. It's exhausting. That must be exhausting for them. But anyway, I'm not saying feel pity for them. I'm just saying that's the reality, and they're sick people. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any examples of this, please share your experience, because this is something that's real to me and quite frustrating. But let me know what you think in the comments with the hashtag #OwnYourOwnFreedom. I hope to continue the conversation down there. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.